exceptional eats. The Paddock Restaurant is perfect for meetings, corporate functions, parties, fundraising, and more. Call 561-683-2222 extension 199 and book your next event today. It's Wednesday morning at 10 a.m. It's time for PBKC Picks, broadcasting live here at the Palm Beach Kennel Club. And it's going to be a great day. It's going to be an amazing show. To my right is the president of PBKC, Ephraim.
Hi, Ephraim.
I like to go by easy, Mike. Let's not put too much pressure on the show. We have no idea if the show's going to be any good or not.
Exactly. That's Pat Rooney. Behind him is Earnest Christian. He's a podcaster and a poker dealer. What's up, Ernest?
How you doing? How's your April Fool's doing?
Oh, it's good. Yeah,
we spoiled it.
Me and Jake and I kept talking about stuff. I don't know. Now behind me is Noah Carbone. He runs the poker room and is also assistant general manager.
Yeah, the thing about April Fools is you don't talk about April Fools, Ernest. You just throw those things in there and you literally just wreck it for everybody.
I just want to put sunlight on it real quick so no one pranks me today.
Wow.
So I'm on alert.
A lot of stuff you say could be taken as April Fools for sure.
Yeah. Wait till we get.
The fire takes.
Wait till we get in our discussions and then we'll.
Just wait till it starts.
Okay, one of the things I want to start talking about first, it's something near and dear to us. The Rooney's 5K is coming up this Saturday. It's the 19th running of the Rooney's 5K, and it's a very cool race. It's a fun run, and it benefits local charities, which is my favorite part, because we're not giving checks to these national charities where you don't know where the money's going. It's going to Westgate Belvedere Homes. It's going to Connections, Potentia Academy, and Palm Beach County PAL. Pat, tell us a little bit about what this race means to you.
Well, when I thought about doing this 20 years ago, and when Alexis came on board here about that same time, I charged her with a bunch of different things. I said, all right, we got a golf tournament. Let's do another golf tournament in the spring. Let's do a luncheon for people on the spectrum. Let's do a armed forces type thing. And then I threw out the run, too, as well. And much to my shock and surprise, she actually did pretty much everything I said. It wasn't half joking. I did think we could pull off, a 5K, and it originally started up at the Rooney's at Abacoa, and it was meant to be a kind of a signal to spring, like, all right, we made it through our tough winter here, and we're going to do a run. And I think we literally pulled this off in about a month and a half, wow. I think, at the time. And I was hoping we'd get like 50 people. And I think we got close to 100 that first time, which is unbelievable for, something that you just announced. But I do think that the breakfast and the Rooney's beer after the race enticed a lot of people to sign up for it. So it was one of those things that it just organically kind of took off. And by the end of our run, no pun intended, so to speak, at Abacoa, which was probably about 12 years ago was our last one there, 10, 12 years ago. We had 1,000 people for it.
Wow.
So it was probably one of the top 3 5Ks in the county at that point. Then we moved it here, and of course a lot of people were like, oh, where are you going to run and all this kind of stuff, and can we finish on the finish line at the track? I'm like, no, we can't do that. So there were a lot of wild ideas, but it's been a slower process. We're up to about 500 people now doing it. I hope we can get maybe 600 this year, but for the big one next year is going to be our 20th. So it's just been a labor of love, really, for Alexis, because she's the one that took this completely under her wing and just ran, again with the puns, ran with it. And it's a fun event. I think people have a lot of fun doing it. And the biggest draw is really the breakfast afterwards, where everybody comes into the terrace here, and there's no other runs that I know of that give you the kind of breakfast that we do here at the track. So that's been our real selling point with it. And the charities have changed over the years, but for the most part, it's exactly what we said. We give to charities locally that, $3 grand or $5 grand or 10 grand. That means a lot to them. That's like, a big payday for these charities. So it's nothing against like the American Heart Association or American Cancer Society or any of those, but you give a group like Westgate CRA $5,000, it definitely has an impact on what they're able to do for the year.
That's awesome, and it's coming up this Saturday. You still got time to enter. You can go to runsignup.com/Rooney's 5K, and don't forget about that big breakfast afterwards. The first 400 people that enter are going to get the T-shirt. First 400 also going to get the medal too. We give so much back to the community, and we give you so much for being in this race, and it's all this Saturday morning. We're going to see you at the Rooney's 5K bright and early this Saturday morning. Now we're going to get into our NFL news. There was a Florida politician that was talking about changing the Rooney Rule, and the NFL and Roger Goodell has now come out and said there's no plans to change the Rooney Rule policies despite a warning and threat from Florida's Attorney General. Obviously, this is a rule that has your last name on it. How do you feel about what's been happening with the Rooney Rule?
Disclaimer here.
Yeah, well, there's always a disclaimer. I have nothing to do with the team, or this is just an opinion. But, I mean, my Uncle Dan came up with this 20-some years ago. It's one of those unfortunate things that, happens in our society where you have a business that, my uncle, and I'm sure a lot of the other owners felt at the time, that we needed to get more minorities into leadership positions, not just being head coaches, but also offensive, defensive coordinators and those types of things, general managers, because the sport did not reflect that percentage. The amount of minorities that play in the NFL, it was not reflected in the people that were leading those teams. So he came up with this where you didn't have to hire anybody. It wasn't a mandate that you had to hire a certain person of ethnicity. It was just you had to interview them. You had to expose yourself to somebody's ideas that you might not, because generally all the owners were white, that you might not interact with, particularly. So it was designed to get more minorities in front of ownership, in front of the people that are making the decisions with the coaching and the GMs and those types of things, to say, at least interview these folks so that they can get a chance to tell you what their thoughts are on, how they would coach a team or run an offense or whatever. And I think for the most part, it's worked from the standpoint that it's at least got a lot of minorities, these interviews and these chances to expose themselves to the ownership groups. I don't think it's worked quite the way my uncle probably intended, because unfortunately, again, with the way society is, a lot of owners just go through we're going to pick some guy, and it's usually the same person, and we'll say we're going to interview him. We have no real intention of hiring him, and we're going to go after the person that we really want. Anyway, and there's still a lot of that out there, which is unfortunate. So they're skirting the intent really of the rule in a lot of cases. But I still think it has some validity. If you look at the last coaching cycle, I don't believe there were a lot of minorities that were hired. So it's still something that I think the NFL is trying to address in the best way that they can by doing it, through this way. It would be a lot nicer if guys would just say, I don't care what the color of your skin is. I just want to hear your views on it and go from there. And we'll see. I mean, whether you like Mike Tomlin or not, he was there for almost 20 years and didn't have a losing record and a lot of other things that came with Mike Tomlin. I don't know if Mike Tomlin at age 30, whatever he was when we hired him, would have gotten that same opportunity without the Rooney Rule. I don't know that. I'm just guessing that. You have a guy like Ozzie Newsome who ran the Baltimore Ravens for a long time, extremely successfully. I don't know if Ozzie would have gotten that chance if there had not been this, thought process of we need to get these guys at least in front of people that are making these decisions and give them a chance. So I don't know. I don't know I don't know what the Attorney General here hopes to accomplish. I understand what it is. We all sort of view ourselves like, things shouldn't be decided on how you were born. It should be, what are you bringing to the table? Can you do this job? And let's hire you. And you hope that people that are doing that have enough common sense and ability to recognize greatness in people, no matter if they're man, woman, black, white, whatever. It shouldn't be a case where, we have to go through this. But unfortunately, I think it holds some validity. I think it's still needed. And in the case of Florida specifically, I don't know what the remedy is. Can you tell Jacksonville, Miami, and Tampa, all right, you guys don't have to do it here in Florida? And would the owners be like, good, we don't have to hire a black guy, thank God? I just think it's stupid. So I don't know what the purpose of it is. Again, it's not. I think it would be different if you're saying if you haven't had a black coach, you have to hire a black coach. That's different, but that's not what this is. It's just a means to bring minority folks up in front of the people that are making the decisions, and then see if they want to hire them. That's all it is. So I think it's more probably a newsworthy thing that the Attorney General's trying to do, rather than affect some kind of change.
I'd like to. Well, I'd say this: if you're speaking out on this and you're spending your time to say this is a bad thing, I hate to say this, but I will say it. I think it's part of the problem where you're saying, okay, we don't need this. You're actually looking to change things to make it reverse things where we're making progress. I've seen this firsthand, and I got a story based on this. 20 years ago, when I first started coaching, I was brought on by a coach, and I was basically the water boy to start out, and he said, all right, and he was a black head coach, one of the best men I've ever met in my life. We were 6-0 at one point in the season, and the parents wanted him removed. And it got to the point where it was targeted. I believe there was no reason to remove the head coach. I believe it falls under the category of the Rooney Rule would have been in here, where they're just removing him because he's a black male. And it was frustrating. It was he and I at the end was working together, where the other coaches ended up being gone, and some other things happened, and we went on to play in a championship and go undefeated and all these things. But the ugly part of the real world is that it does exist, and until it doesn't exist anymore, then rules like this should be in place to try to keep balance. And if you're openly speaking out against it, what are you trying to achieve, and what do you gain by just eliminating this thing, and what is the harm in having this in place? That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, everything should be merit, of course, but the reality is that there is definitely a topsy-turvy thing in that. I will say this much: the rule has actually worked, and I think there was a good period I think in the aughts where you got a lot of black coaches that were getting head coaching jobs and more coordinator jobs. So the rule for me, more than anything else, it's not even about getting guys hired immediately or getting black guys, whatever. It's about getting names in the network at the end of the day. Getting those names exposed. Guys, I don't think Mike Tomlin would ever been like a head coach anywhere, given where he came from, unless he had like massive success on a great team, and those odds are very low. So I think in terms of like getting names in the network, it's done a great job. Now, obviously, do coaches stay longer? That's a whole different conversation. But should a rule be needed in a bigger margin? Not really, but at the same time, we know the history of this, and it has worked. I like the rule in place. I think my question, more than anything else, is what kind of influence can a state attorney have over a rule that's a National Football League, for example? Like, why would he even like touch this beyond me? I don't understand why he would even comment on this and say this. That's why I'm throwing that. Maybe, Pat, you can answer this question, because this is more politics than anything else. I mean, why? What's the whole intent here?
Yeah, I think what he's trying to say is our state is not going to recognize this rule, and we're going to bring a lawsuit to say our state is not going to recognize this, and then it's up to the NFL to determine, do we want to fight this and say, well, we truly believe in this rule and want to keep it going, and if some court says that the state of Florida doesn't have to abide by it, well, again, will the owners here all be like, oh, thank God we don't have to interview any black guys anymore? I don't know. Again, the spirit of this is it's not a mandate. It's not saying you have to hire X person. Correct. It's just saying we want you to expose yourself to some guys that you might not necessarily interact with normally. So that's all. It's the spirit of it is we're trying to get folks that might not get a seat at the table, just to interview them and get their thoughts on things. And unfortunately, like I said, you already have teams that skirt this anyway. They bring in the same. There's 3 or 4 black coaches that seem to get interviewed every year, and they have no chance of getting it, and it's just the team saying we're going to fulfill our requirement of the Rooney Rule. That's not what this is either. Those teams should be fined, in my opinion. But do it in the spirit of which it's meant. There are plenty of coaches out there, black, white, and everything, that you can go out and say, all right, we have a pool of guys. And I get it. Sometimes you want to hire that coach immediately because you're worried somebody else is going to steal him and things like that. But there should be ample enough time to give a couple days to get 5 or 6 guys in a room and just say, all right, we're gonna interview these guys and have a legitimate conversation with them. That's the part that irks me more than anything is a lot of these teams just bring in, a straw guy that's, they're not hiring him, and it's just to appease this rule. So, yeah, I don't know where this thing can go ultimately if the state of Florida really pursues it. But I mean, the NFL they could come up with some other type of thing that would accomplish what they're trying to do with not calling it the Rooney Rule. But I just think it's probably the Attorney General here trying to make a name for himself for some. I don't know, for some reason.
He lost
on
my
this
vote.
thing.
He lose my vote 100%.
Yeah. I mean, personally, I believe the Rooney Rule is still relevant because it's still relevant. So,
thank you.
Let's
Yeah,
continue
I think
with
most
this.
teams do it the right way. There are a few that don't, and you're going to have that, I guess, in any type of thing in business and society. But the spirit of it is meant to be, we want to have guys that normally wouldn't get these interviews to give them an interview. That's all it is.
That's how you got on
and like
here,
you
right?
said, then they get into network.
That's how we got Earnest.
That's how we got Earnest.
Right here, right?
Yeah, we didn't.
And you made it.
And I'm like Mike Tomlin 23 years later. Look what's going on.
We had a pool of people.
I'm the Mike
and
Tomlin of the
Ernest was
Kennel
in
Club.
there.
And Ernest made it.
Ernest, congrats, Ernest. I know you thank God every day for being on this show.
Yes.
But let's talk about the upcoming NFL season. Give me some hot takes. Give me some questionable things or things that they're
Ernest
your
always
opinion. Of course, Ernest is coming up.
I
and
know.
He's gonna be firing
Before
some
Pat, go.
bullets,
I know
but-
for a fact that when you
wanna go first?
when you type this out, you thought of me, didn't you?
I did. So, Pat, any hot takes?
I'll give you one. Just I don't even know if it's a hot take, but as you guys might have heard, the NFL referees are close to getting locked out. They can't come to an agreement on their contract, and the NFL is saying we're going to go with substitute refs. And I think we did this a while ago.
14 years ago. It was a disaster.
I was going to say it really didn't work out well. But maybe with the way technology has evolved and so much of the game, not just football, baseball, everything else has been taken away from the human element of it. It might be more feasible now to just say, hey, we can basically make the calls. We can do the first down markers, all that kind of stuff now through AI or whatever kind of technology is out there. Maybe we don't need you guys, and maybe we're going to find that out relatively quickly if we're forced to figure out if we can do it by technology. So I would be careful here if I'm the NFL refs. I agree with you, Ernest. It was a disaster 14 years ago, but I think with the way technology is, we might not need the human element quite as much as we did in the past.
Right.
And if the NFL wants to say, hey, we're going to start reviewing everything, I know they don't want to slow the game down, but if these guys come in and they don't know how to call pass interference or what's a catch and all that other stuff, and they can do it relatively quickly with technology, the NFL refs got to be careful here. I don't know what they were presented and what they can agree to, but these are not full-time employees. So, they just got to be careful. I think that they might be replaced by machines quicker than they want to be.
All right. So my first take here is this upcoming season rather, the NFC representative of the Super Bowl will be the Chicago Bears. My first take.
April Fools, everybody.
No.
No?
Look, this is my take.
I like the
I'm
Bears
sorry.
too.
I'm sorry.
I like
Bad
them.
timing.
Did
I'm
I
sorry.
just put sunlight on this already on start of the show? No, I think, and especially in the tough NFC with the NFC West being what it is, and all the Eagles, of course, and the Eagles, I think the Bears are going to find a way to. Now, this is not a prediction. This is a hot take. Okay, okay. We'll say that for August, September, and we can do that later in the year.
All right.
My second take is the New York Giants will be a wild card team this year.
Okay,
April Fools.
You need to calm down, okay? I don't just judge your eyes. I see that. Yeah, John Harbaugh being there. I mean, they already got talent. Now, this is also as long as Jackson Dart plays smart and doesn't get hurt and tries to throw his body around all around the field. And then my third take is that Patrick Mahomes will be available for the Chiefs week 1.
Wow.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
So to touch on the refs make $200,000 a year, and they're part-time. They have other jobs. They're like lawyers and judges, all this other stuff. So I don't know what you're actually. It sounds like extortion to me, but I'll end that there. But well, I mean, for $200,000, I'll take the job. I probably do it, right? We all do it at home every Sunday already. But that's not a hold. That's a hold. We can make those calls. All right, hot takes. I'm gonna rip them off quick. Seahawks won't make the playoffs this year.
Whoa!
They won't have. You wanted hot takes. They had the cake schedule last year, and everything lined up perfectly. They're in that tough division, like Pat always says, with the Rams in there and the nine. I think they miss. I do. I think they whiff. Drake May will regress, and he will struggle based on after a Super Bowl or his Super Bowl performance where he just totally got destroyed and didn't look well at all. I think that's going to carry on into this season, and this is an easy one. This is not even a hot take. The Chiefs will not win 7 games.
Wow.
Can I get a bonus real quick?
Yeah, go for it,
Just to-
Ernest.
just to
Give
piss-
us
just to-
another.
Just to piss him off.
Give us
Yeah,
another
do it.
joke,
Your
Ernest.
MVP for next year will be Caleb Williams.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
We just lost our credibility.
Yeah.
Okay, cut.
It's a hot
cut.
take. It's a hot take. What are we doing here, bro?
Let's start the show
Your whole
over
life
again.
is a hot take.
Pat, any comments on these takes?
I
here?
actually agree with. I don't. I think Kansas City will be a playoff team. I think.
Okay.
Now, Mahomes does have to come back by midseason, and they can't be like 1-8 or something
Right,
like
exactly.
that. He's got to come back by midseason, and I'm assuming they'll at least be 500 at that point. If that happens, they're going to make the playoffs. He's that good. That division's good. I mean, you got Denver in there. You got the
Raiders.
Chargers. Raiders, are one of those strange teams. But I think Kansas City can rebound in that. Much like you were just talking about, Drake May. I think Bo Nix will probably take a little bit of step back too. Not a lot, but a little bit. And so I think Kansas City can win that division. All those other takes, though, I agree with you on Drake May. Earnest, I think the Giants are right there they can make the playoffs. We've talked about
Beware, buddy.
We've already talked about the Bears. I think they are positioned. Again, are they going to be Washington from a couple of years ago and just their quarterback gets hurt and they go in the tank, or are they truly building on something? And I don't know that one game against the Rams where they're out of it, and Caleb Williams throws it off his back foot, and the guy catches it, and I'm like, that's not just luck. That happens to teams that are building something. So we'll have to see, if Johnson and Williams can keep this magic going. But I got you with that one. I don't know, Green Bay. I'll give you a hot take. You guys,
There you go.
You
Let's
guys
go.
are gonna laugh at this.
You're good for this too.
Kyler Murray is going to be a lot better than people think.
I
In
agree.
a dome, with McConnell coaching him. I'm not going to make predictions about what that team's going to do, but I think he is going to play his rear end off this year.
So you're saying basically he's a starting quarterback next year.
I'm sorry?
He's a starting quarterback next year for the Vikings next
Yeah,
year.
yeah. I'm
Okay,
assuming
okay,
he's
Okay,
starting.
okay.
But he'll play a lot better than people
I think so
think.
too. I mean, look, Look, the Vikings went 9-8 with that quarterback room last year.
Yeah.
9-8 in that division too, with every team in the ring record.
Kyler Murray stinks.
But with Jefferson and Addison, I think he's going to have a hell of a year, personally.
You won't be able to see him over the line.
Reboot, buddy.
No, I mean, you just got to throw the ball up there. They're going to
Look
catch
up,
it,
be
right?
like, hey, how you doing, Jefferson?
Okay, pick a coach, past or present, right now this year that could take a team to the Super Bowl. Pick me a coach from the past or present right now that you want to coaching your team
Wow.
into the big game.
You guys know I'm
Yeah.
going old school. I think Chuck Noll. I think Bill Walsh. I think John Madden. I think those kind of guys. If you want, football is football. I know you got to evolve and stuff like that. But for the most part, Jimmy Johnson. It's motivating guys. And it's getting them on the same page, and it's basically calling some of the similar plays that everybody else calls, but you're executing them to a level that's higher than those other teams, and you're imposing your will on them. And I just think a lot of the coaches from the 70s and 80s that were Bill Parcells that were really good, they would still do it now. Now, if you want to go way back and say George Halas or Curly Lambeau, I have no idea. I don't know, or Paul Brown. I don't know. Paul Brown was an innovator with the Cleveland Browns, way back then. but would he be able to deal with the personalities and the stuff with
Right.
these guys? I don't know that. But I think the guys in the 70s and 80s are still in touch enough that if you brought Bill Walsh back, he would be able to fall
Walsh
in right now.
phenomenal.
He could take up this 49ers team and win the Super Bowl with them, I think.
Yeah, Bull Walsh, especially in today's wide open offensive era, Bull Walsh was already a genius in the 70s for the West Coast offense. Now you have him here in 2026. Oh, yeah, he'll kill it. But you touch on a point where I agree with too also, Pat, is the fact that you need a coach also who's balanced enough that, yes, it's old school, yes, but also can relate to these players of this era. And I think someone like Bill Parcells, to your point, on my list, is a guy for me that would do a good job, who's a good balance. He's a hard ass, yes, but he's also someone that I've heard stories from Lawrence Taylor and from Carl Banks, and that, yeah, he's a hard ass, but at the same time, he's definitely someone that cared about you too. So Parcells top of my list, definitely.
Yeah, I'm going with Buddy Ryan. If you brought Buddy
really?
Ryan, you bring Buddy Ryan back into Philly this year, all hell's going to break loose. But, yeah, he is that. And defense, I think it transfers long-term more so than offense. Offense changes a lot. Defense there's not a lot of moving parts there. I think if you could get that attitude in Philly with the players that they have, I think they'd be an absolute nightmare.
Buddy was a good players coach, actually, but he didn't get along with a lot of his coordinators and stuff.
Oh, you remember like him punching somebody on the sideline?
Kevin Goldbright?
Kevin
Goldbright, yeah.
And he used to wear, what were those jackets, those like starter jackets?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Buddy was crazy, man.
Yeah, I'm picking Bill Parcells. He
There we
actually
go.
used to be a regular here in the cafe up there. I used to walk by him on a regular basis. He owned horses at Saratoga. He probably still does, but I'm taking Bill Parcells in that. And real quick, pick your favorite tight end right now on your team. If you could pick one tight end in the league right now to put on your championship team, who is it?
Well, I like that guy from Arizona. What's his name, McBride? Or,
Yeah, right.
That I mean, you don't hear anything about him. I also like your boy in Vegas,
Brock.
Brock, he's good too. So either one of
Lesnar?
those two guys would be my guy on the team right now.
Was it about Lesnar? Or no,
No,
Brock
no,
I'm
it's
joking.
not.
Sorry,
It's not
wrestling.
wrestling's
Right,
fake.
I understand. Well, he's also an MMA player too. Also.
April Fools.
Calm down. There you go. Apparently, we're talking 1 year sample, so it's gonna shock you guys. In a 1 year sample, he had a down year by his standards, but he was still top 3, 5, 10 in the league last year. Travis Kelce. Just in a 1 year
He's like
sample,
8
I
years
still
old.
trust him to make the catch necessary. He still stays healthy, even at his age. So based on trust
You're
and
going to build your
leadership,
team around him.
yeah, for 1 year to win a title,
What's that?
for 1 year, I'm taking Travis Kelce.
I thought he was a bodyguard now or
Yeah,
something.
I'm looking for long-term. Sam Laporta, I think, is at the top of the list with his blocking and his catchability. And then my second would go to Dalton Kincaid. I think that he's going to be a pretty
pretty good,
spectacular
actually, yeah.
player.
I like that. Now let's talk about Hard Rock Bet. They got an offer right now. Double your winnings. New members sign up, get to a Hard Rock Sportsbook account, make a minimum $10 wager. You're going to receive 100% profit boost tokens, maximum $50 bet per token. If the wager wins, you receive 100% of the profits boost winnings. Tokens expire 7 days after. Only one token can be applied per bet. With the Final Four and everything coming up, you got to get in there if you aren't already on Hard Rock Bet. For all the official rules, go to pbkennelclub.com/Hard Rock Bet. Offered by Seminole Tribe of Florida, 21 plus and physically present in Florida to wager. Terms and conditions apply. Concerned about gambling? Call or text 1-833 play wise. And now let's talk about that March Madness and that Final Four. We have a little bracket contest going where there's only one guy that's like really relevant anymore. So congrats to him. How did we feel about those Elite Eight games? That huge comeback by UConn. Is it one of the most exciting Final Fours we've seen, Pat?
Well, yeah, I mean, it was. I will give you my quick take on it. Everyone's just saying, why didn't Duke just take a timeout or hold the ball? Here's the thing. If I think it was Boozer. If Boozer throws it over the two guys that are on him, there's two dudes down there. That game's over. All he had to do is get the ball over those two guys. So, yeah, he didn't do it. UConn makes a great play, and Mullins obviously hits the three. But, from a strategy standpoint, yeah, you could have just held the ball and gotten fouled and all that kind of stuff and probably still win the game. But if he makes that pass, if he gets it over the two guys, the game's over. So I'm not going to be as hard on Duke or the coaching for not taking the time out or whatever, because again, it's one play, and this happens all the time in sports. If somebody just does something that is right there in front of them, and they don't fumble the ball as they're going in for a touchdown or whatever, then all the coaching and everything is genius. It's like, they won the game. But so I'm not going to be as hard on Duke for that. The kid just didn't make the play. That's all, and that can happen. And then UConn made a series of unbelievable passes and a shot that actually win the game. So you had 5 things that had to go right and wrong for both teams, and they happened. But it was still a great game. The thing that Duke really needs to be held accountable for is blowing a 19-point lead. That's what they need to be berated for, not that one particular play. But Duke's a strange team because now they've been beaten by UConn, I think 3 of the last 4 times they played each other, and Mike Krzyzewski is not there anymore, and this guy Shire gets them to a certain point, and then they seem to lose. So can you is that a pattern now? Is that a legitimate coaching, some kind of issue there? Because he has the best players in college basketball for the most part. So some part of that does fall on coaching, and it's tough to replace a legend. It's very difficult for Joe Montana to give it up to Steve Young. So it's hard to do that. I don't know if this is quite like the tip of where Duke can get to, because I think they're still going to get players for the foreseeable future. But if he has another couple of these exits in the March Madness before they at least get to the Final Four, there's going to be some heat on that coach. So we'll see. But the other games were good. Here's my other final take on this. And I do not believe in reseeding like in the NFL or anything else. I think you play your division. If you end up 12-4 and you're second in the division, tough cookies. You end up playing the 5th game and all that. Yeah. This case, they should reseed. This case, you should not have number 1 Arizona playing number 1 Michigan and then 2 and 3 playing in the other game for 2 specific reasons. Because now everybody's focused on the 1-1 game as the national championship game, which it in a way kind of is. And then second, whoever wins that game, is it Michigan or Arizona, now they gotta feel like, we just beat the best team in the country, either one of them. Now we got to go play Illinois or UConn. Both excellent teams, and you're telling me you got to re-get yourself up again to play one of those 2 teams who's not, even though they're very good, they're not on the level of Arizona or Michigan. Right. I think that's a fairness thing for me. So I don't understand why you get to the Final Four, you should reseed those teams at that point. That's me. So you don't have like what's a national championship game versus like a third place team, and now you got to go play the third place team when you win the national championship game. So. That's my take.
Let me touch on Duke real quick. I think there's a conversation right now, if we sit here on this podcast, that he's on the hot seat, because a lot of Duke fans I talked to in the last couple of days, some of them I'm related to as is, and some of my friends. My brother's a big Duke fan. Yeah, I was happy they lost. I hate Duke. That they don't want him back. They see a pattern already. The pattern's here, and if you have the best players coming in that portal every single year, and you can't crack the Final Four, that's a problem. So I think he may be on the hot seat right this second. And to think 3 weeks ago we did this whole exercise of the brackets and all that, and to think that I thought for the most part this whole thing will chalk. My Final Four was Florida, Michigan, Purdue, and was it Florida, Michigan, Purdue, another number 1 team.
Arizona.
No, not Arizona. Not Arizona at all.
Houston?
No, somebody else. I forgot who. Who's the 1 seed?
We can name them all.
There's another 1 seed that got knocked out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we'll name them all.
Only one left.
One of the teams. Yeah.
Yeah, one left now. Michigan's the only one that's still alive. To think that my Final Four would be a little more in line, but no, it's not. This has been a really good tournament. I thought it'd be very chalk, and it's anything but so far.
Yeah, for that UConn Duke game. So there's very few times in my reality that I feel like you could swap me out in either a professional or college game, and I could give a better chance to win than whatever that player did. I think it was such a fluke for that ball to get tipped, like Pat said, for him to jump up and even tip it and it end up where it needed to end up. The odds are still phenomenal, and we're putting it all on that one single play. But yeah, if there was nobody behind him, if he just gets it up and over, and there's drills for that, and I get it, but it just didn't happen. And then he comes down and makes a miracle shot. And the most interesting thing about that whole thing, I think, is when he took that shot from just past half court, somewhere in between, he was walking away because he knew it was going in already as soon as he launched that thing. I think that's the most insane thing ever. Yeah, shout out to UConn for pulling that off. I don't think you're on a hot seat for one.
No, this is multiple years, though. This is
Yeah,
multiple years
but if we're not even talking about that, if he throws it, he just tosses that ball up and over. We're not having this conversation at all.
But to Pat's point, though, the issue wasn't that. It was you had a 19-point lead in the second half of the game. What are we doing? I mean, so by the way, Duke was the number 1 seed, who I had going to the final four.
That is, and I am a fan of reseeding because the matchups just they're not there.
Yeah, I guess maybe reseed the final lead.
Well, the final four, there's no. Well, the Elite Eight.
I would just reseed this.
Yes,
I don't
agree
want
with
this.
that.
I don't want this happening.
This is the only one that doesn't travel, right? The other ones are at 2 different. Right? Is the Elite Eight is that at 2 different?
No,
16 and 8 is at 2 different ones, right? Yes.
Yeah.
It's at 2 different locations. This is at one location, I believe.
One location,
So
yeah,
you could reseed this 100%.
You know, we say that, and then we mess around by Tuesday. We do the show next week, and then the winner of the tournament is going to be on that left side of the bracket.
You can bet on that. Yeah.
I'm not saying we'll do that. I missed the whole thing. I'm just saying we say that, and then
we partner with Hard Rock Bets. They'll accept that bet.
It would fit the narrative of this whole tournament, though. I'll be honest with you. So.
Yeah, one of my favorite parts about it, and it's sad for them, but the Boozer brothers are now doing Domino's pizza ads, and every time I see one come up on Facebook, I just go right to the comments, and they're just getting roasted.
Oh boy,
not getting the ball over, not getting it past half court. All
do you think he his draft stock? He's still going to be a top guy in the draft.
I think he's still going to be a top guy. I mean,
remember
his dad was great too.
Remember Weber, what he did?
I wasn't getting live.
He got drafted.
Exactly. So that those two games are coming up on Saturday, 6:09 p.m. and 8:39 p.m. Now let's talk about baseball. Let's get into baseball.
This is good.
We opened the season 1 week ago, and since the opening of the season, the ABS system is already making a huge difference. During opening week, roughly 54% of challenges resulted in an overturned call, and there's been some real doozies in there where certain umpires are really starting to look bad because of this ABS system. There's been some big overturn rates. Certain teams like the Yankees have had 85.7 success rate on that. Chris Siegel had a league-high 10 calls challenged in one game with 7 being reversed. How do we feel like the ABS system is working?
Again, I am not – I love having human element in sports to some degree. I think it's cause of some great arguments, like how did he miss that call or whatever. In this particular case, balls and strikes, go to the damn machine. Just do it. Have the guy back there, somebody in his ear, ball, strike, ball, whatever. Quit. Why are we wasting time with, I got a challenge, or is it going to challenge? Now, that batter's decided to challenge, and then we got to wait. I'm like, just go to this thing. Everybody puts the damn box up in every broadcast now. You can clearly see if a ball is a ball or a strike. Why are we wasting time with this? There's other things the umpires can do and still get paid and all that, but this shouldn't be one of them. This is just going to delay the game and all that other kind of stuff, which is what we don't want. Have it be automatic and just have the umpire or somebody just be like, it's a ball. And there's no arguing with it. You can clearly see if it hits the line or it doesn't. So that's my take on it. And
just real clear, like there are a certain amount of challenges the team can make, right?
2, I think.
Yes, so there's a balance there.
Okay.
There's a nice balance. You pick and choose. You know, the human element still has a high priority. You just have a pick and choose which arguments are worth having. Like in the NFL, same thing too. Also, so I'm okay with it. I have no problem with it.
But Ernest, what if there's already one where there was a ball or something and the guy called it a strike and they were out of challenges? So it's like and it affected the game. The guy ended up getting a hit.
That's where coaching matters now, right?
But I'm like,
choose,
why? If you know it's wrong though, why don't you just be like, no, it was a strike. He's out.
Because if it happens in the first inning, are you really going to burn a challenge in the first inning, a 0-0 game? Probably not. Save those for when you need them back in the back end of the game.
A different look is from the umpires, and I said this earlier that, okay, so imagine as you come close to the season, you're at home with your wife, and you know you're going to be under the microscope now for every ball and strike. That'd be like me working downstairs and some guy sitting in the corner with me, and like every time I did something, and if somebody like a challenge, and we talked to that guy, and we asked that guy what he thought, and then I just get overruled, and then we just change the whole thing. Like get rid of the main guy and just get the backup guy in there and have him call it. But to have a checks and balances is kind of wild.
Well, one of the cool things about it is the only people that can challenge, like, the dugout has nothing to do with it. It has to be the pitcher, catcher, or the batter that can challenge it. A couple of guys, Teoscar Hernandez, Eugenio Suarez, and Trent Grisham all have started with perfect 2-for-2 successful challenges.
So you could burn them up for the team, like you could go rogue and you're like up there and you just
challenge
the
it
first one,
everything.
challenge the second one, and now you're out. That's bizarre too.
Having a challenge too also it actually gives a strategic element to the game. Again, picking and choosing when you do this stuff. You know
wait till the story of the first time a guy challenges when he shouldn't have challenged and it costs the team a game later in the season. Watch that one.
Well, that's part of strategy. Yeah. That's part of coaching as well, too.
Yeah. So we're one weekend. Anything you're impressed with or you don't like so far, Pat?
Oh, I don't like my Phillies.
Oof,
I mean, you knew I wasn't going to.
That was.
They had their worst hitting opening series since 2013, I think, something like that. This team is exactly the same team that was last year. It's exactly the same team of 2 years ago. They hit home runs. They strike out. They don't clutch hit. Their bullpen sucks. It's the same thing. If you watch these games, watch it last night. You know, they're up 3-2 against Washington, who by all accounts is going to stink this year, and it's a nail biter. They got their closer in there. He's fighting the corners and everything else. And I'm like, I can't do it. I can't devote my energy to watching this same team do the same stuff every year. And then you got the managers is like he's super positive, which I like in a way, but I also want Tommy Lasorda in there. These guys suck. They need to get off their asses. This is the Major League Baseball. I need a guy yelling about this. Instead, you got Thompson's like they're gonna catch on. Schwarber's gonna do it. I'm like, no. This is he strikes out 4 times and he hits a home run. That's what he does. So I'm like, I just am sick of it. So I think it was good seeing the Marlins. I know they haven't played anybody, but at least they're winning to start a season. And my other pet peeve is I think the Phillies go to Colorado this weekend. I'm like, what genius decided to have Colorado should not open anything until the end of April. They should be on the road until the end of April.
Chilly.
So it's April 2nd, and the Phillies are going to play a weekend series in Colorado. They might as well get their skis out there. And the other thing is the Marlins should play every home game in the month of April. They shouldn't be away anywhere. You should play all the good games in Tampa and Miami in April, and keep all the crappy games away from Colorado in April. These guys that do these scheduling drives me nuts.
You do realize I have no sympathy for you right now, Pat, right? I don't have none. As a Phillies
no,
fan for years, I have no sympathy whatsoever.
I'm with you. It's just frustrating.
Right, however, you know how this is going to go. You guys are going to find a way, get red hot in May and June, find a way in first place.
And then completely collapse in the playoffs.
Yeah, exactly. So, yes, it's the same old story. It's a good enough team to at least get to the NLCS, maybe give the Dodgers a challenge, but, this is not going to hold up. Look, the Marlins are 4-1 right now. That's not holding up, bro. That's not going to happen. The Mets, look, my biggest dislike right now has nothing to do with anything now in the field. This is what Mets fans that work here, a specific one that works here, when they won the first game 11-9, he was all excited and stuff. I'm like, and I said, well, yeah, but I'm not going to, if you get 9 runs a game, we're not going to do anything this year. He's like, oh, come on, stop being a pessimist. And in the last, 4 games, they've averaged, 3 runs a game. So, again, unless you put up 11 runs a game, I don't see where you see the success there. So, no, don't do that to me.
Yeah, early on, the Yankees were playing good baseball, and I was super shocked to see what happened to Skeens in his first start. We're all settled in baseball season. This guy's going to light it up. He's going to give up maybe 1 run, and he gets absolutely shellacked.
We did that, by the way.
You did do that.
Yes.
And I'm surprised there's such a long break before he pitches again. He might pitch today, but I'm surprised he hasn't pitched since.
It's been over a week.
But, yeah, maybe he's recovering from that. But you want to talk about a shocker if somehow he regressed, I don't see it happening, and I don't know if that was a fluke, but that was wild what they did to him in that first game.
It was.
Yeah, Kevin. I called you out on that one for record.
Kevin. Now we're going to talk. We're going to go into the PGA, and there's some stuff to talk about. Last week on the show, we had asked, hey, do you think Tiger Woods is going to play in the Masters? Obviously, as we saw last week on Friday, the 27th, he had a vehicle overturned right down the street in Jupiter Island. He attempted to pass a truck at a high rate of speed, clipped its trailer. There was talk about he was trying to switch the radio station, whatever. He was probably listening to the podcast But
Heard my hot take, got banned and turnovers.
Yeah, so he was charged misdemeanor DUI with property damage and refusal to submit to a lawful test. He's come out and said he's stepping away for a period of time. Is this the last we've seen of Tiger Woods in the PGA?
Well, I'll give you a quick story real quick. So I'm playing golf last Thursday at a course up in the Palm Beach Gardens area, and I'm going to get my car at the valet. And there's a guy sitting on the bench. And there's two valet guys, the guy on the bench and me. And I'm waiting for the car, and it comes up, and the guy's putting the thing in. The guy on the bench gets up, and he's just like, hey, can I get a golf cart? I need to go watch my sons out there, playing high school. And I turn around, and it's Tiger Woods. I've never met Tiger. And I'm like, this dude's been sitting on this bench this whole time. And I'm like, Mr. Oblivious. And I was just like, man, he's a lot smaller than I thought, by the way. Yeah, he's not super tall. I don't think he weighs more than 170 pounds. He's not a big dude. But he had the full Tiger gear on. He had the Tiger shirt, sunglasses, the Tiger hat. I mean, he looked. It was just bizarre. And then the next day, I hear about this happening, and I'm just like, I just saw the guy. Like, it's one of those weird things. But is he done? I don't think he's done playing because of this. He might be done playing because he can't play anymore with his leg, his back, whatever's going on in terms of the pain meds that he's likely taking because of that, and the fact that he's 50 years old. So all those things might factor into that he's not playing again. I don't think it's going to be because of this. Now, the public opinion of Tiger, I think, is changing rapidly because of this. I think, they sort of forgave him for the car wreck in Los Angeles where he really hurt his leg, the car wreck that he had in May of 2017 here, and then, getting in the car with his wife hitting him with the 6-iron and all that. So I think it's more like a 4 strikes and now, all right. The thing with Tiger is, and I know this is tough because I'm not him and nobody else is, everyone's just like, why does he just get a driver? Why doesn't he just have somebody drive him around? And I'm like, yeah, that seems like a logical thing. But maybe that's not how he thinks, and maybe that's not how with the meds that he's probably on affect his thinking. I have no idea. But clearly Tiger should not be driving anymore, at least until he's going to go to I think he's announced that he's going to rehab and all that kind of stuff. And if he gets a clean bill of health, and I think you want to give people as many chances as they need, but at the same time, you're concerned that he could have killed somebody, himself included, and that's the problem here. Is he's not just doing something that's not affecting anybody but him. He's doing something, driving a car that could potentially affect somebody else. So that's the problem that Tiger now has. He has a lot of goodwill built up. A lot of people love him. They want to see him come out and play again and all that kind of stuff. But this is something different that, now it's at least the 3rd or 4th time that he's driven and probably shouldn't have been driving. And I think that, you only get so many strikes with the public, the public opinion, and I think he's run out of them at this point.
Yeah, I caused a little bit of a stir last week when I gave my opinion on the whole situation. And look, you can sympathize to some degree with the issues you have, but at the end of the day, you got to be responsible, be accountable, Again, this could have been a disaster. Someone else could have been killed in this thing. And so he needs to get help, and he's getting the help finally. I think we'll still see him at some point next year or so on the golf course, but he's got to get help, man. He's got to make smart decisions, because if someone like me did this, I'm probably going to get in trouble and not have my license for like 5 years or something like that. So who's Tiger Woods, right? So
I've seen you drive. You don't drive that fast.
Thank God, because I'm smart.
Everybody here knows how it goes. You have that one guy, or I don't know if any of us been in that situation where maybe he knocked back one too many, and you're like, nah, I'm good to drive or whatever, and you're already, your decision making is already impaired. So maybe you think I'm good to drive, and then you end up driving. And there's people that get that far down the path where they are impaired, it's already too late where they can't make a good decision on whether they should drive or not. And I do think that we have to look at this as where Tiger's at, and he doesn't choose to be in those situations. I don't believe he wakes up in the morning and says, I want to be to where I'm flipping my car over and causing these problems or whatever. He's not. So there's an underlying, if you lack a better thing, a disease or something that addiction problem or just from the rehab or whatever that he needs to address. And that's the stance I come from. Yeah, you got to stay away from harming other people. and that's what the laws are in place for. But at the same time, we hope he gets some help.
Yeah, I think he's going to come back at some point, and I think he's going to be relevant again because I think he's going to get help, and he's going to be an example, and a lot of people are going to look up to him, and I look forward to that. So 1 week away from the Masters, anything that's changed when it comes to anybody's injuries or what you're thinking about the Masters?
No, I mean, I think, Scotty Scheffler had to take off last week because of birth of, I think, of his second child.
Oh, so he's born. Okay.
So he was not injury. It wasn't an injury issue, but there might be a little bit of rust there. He obviously wasn't playing super great for the last 4 or 5 tournaments, and then he had to take off, so he didn't get that additional tune-up. Sometimes that helps. Sometimes that gives guys a completely fresh outlook, and then they can go out and just go nuts. And he certainly has the talent to do that. Rory coming off his back injury, so you got a couple guys that have not been playing well or have been injured, and they're kind of the 2 lead guys going into this. I think this is probably going to be one of those Masters where you have a guy that has been on the fringe, been a decent player like a Cam Young type guy, and puts it all together in these 4 days and ends up winning this. So I'm not going to actually, even though I said in the beginning I thought Scotty would win 3 out of the 4 majors, I'm not sure if this is the one, and so it's going to put a lot of heat on him to win the last 3, but I just think this is going to be one of those fringe type guys who's a very good player, and is everything's just coming together. And Cam Young just won the TPC a couple weeks ago, and he's got the game that could do it here at Augusta. So it'd be a guy like that to me that's going to win. Rory will probably play well. Scotty will probably play well. But I think it's time for it's one of those Trevor Immelman type guys that ends up winning this week.
Yeah. Now we're going to move on to talk about some NBA.
Mm-hmm.
This one's for Earnest. So the Heat's going to make the postseason.
Who?
You
The
know what I'm
Heats.
talking
The Heats?
about. The Heats.
The Heats.
Are they going to
Yes.
make it?
Okay, so let's
It is a corny team
let's
name.
clear something up real quick. The play-in is not a playoffs, okay? It's not a playoff. The playoffs teams are technically the top 6 teams in the East right now.
Right.
The 7 through 10 are play-in teams
Okay.
vying for those last 2 spots. So
Which
the
is
play-in tournament-
ridiculous.
So
Yeah.
the purpose of it is to bring up the middle.
Ridiculous.
Well, I mean, maybe yeah,
Everybody gets a trophy. Go ahead.
not necessarily, but it curbs tanking too. Also, so gives something to play for. And in Eastern Conference, you see all 10 teams in the Eastern Conference all have winning records this year for the first time in I think decades. So that's something to be happy about. Number one, it's tough because those teams in the 7 through 10 bracket right now are all playing pretty well. Like you're talking about minus Miami of course. Charlotte's playing very good basketball since January. Your boy how do you pronounce it? What's his name?
Knipple?
Knipple. There we go.
Knipple.
Atlanta, they trade Young, and they're red hot now. And now they're at 5 seed in the East right now currently. And 16, but possibly getting a 5 seed. Who else in that bracket? But basically, I think the Heat are the most experienced team in that bunch. But then you got the Sixers, who are the 7th seed, and right now are finally healthy. For the first time in all season. All the guys are back. Oubre's back, Embiid's back, Paul George's back, and they're dangerous now. So the Heat are probably going to draw them probably. Honestly, if the Sixers are healthy, I'm going to say no to the Heat. I think they'll probably win their first playing game against Charlotte if they stay the 9th seed. But then Philadelphia's going to win their game against whoever the 8th seed is, and then they lose to Miami.
So Miami has the Wizards twice. They should be wins, and the Raptors twice.
You say that, but they lost Indiana on Sunday, so I don't want to hear all that anymore.
It's all going to come down to that Hawks game, the last game of the season. The whole thing is going to be online for that Hawks game. That's what I believe.
With 2 weeks left in the season, it should be interesting. Pat, give me one current player to build a franchise around. If you could pick a guy right now, today, that's playing
This
in the
is
NBA,
easy.
who you building?
Layup.
My guy,
Yeah,
Yeah,
there it is.
show over. Let's go. That's my
That's
answer.
it.
Show
Wemby.
over, right, Pat?
Wemby.
Good job, Pat.
Yeah,
You
dig
got it.
deeper on the questions here.
Yeah, the questions from the last couple of weeks, the one about the NBA last week got so many comments on TikTok saying that anybody today that plays right now could have dominated in our era. I don't buy it. I don't agree. What do you think, Pat?
So somebody today couldn't go back and play with
all of them. Everybody today that plays
no.
could have dominated in that era.
Oh, could have dominated.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about that. I think I think LeBron would obviously be good no matter what. I think Doncic would be good. I think the Joker would be good. I think Wemby on it should be really good. I think a lot of these guys now would be really good back then. So I don't really agree with that. Yeah, they were great players back then, but as we talked about, size and everything else, and you're assuming that they would be a little bit bigger or whatever, maybe a little bit quicker than they were, but no, I think anybody in the league that's playing today could go back then and be just as good as a lot of those guys.
People that make those comments are people who are trying to gatekeep their era, nostalgia, and like, oh, my era was better than yours. And stop. They're players that you give them this. I mean, obviously the players today do benefit from the science and the ease and the rules, but you're also applying the fact of mindset. Okay, put this player in that era, would they be able to adjust accordingly? And I say most of those guys that we mentioned, the Jokic of the world and Wemby and definitely LeBron, are going to do fine. So people just gatekeeping their eras. That's all they're doing.
So anybody in the comments that picks anybody other than Wemby to build their franchise around right now, it could be Joker. I could see SGA being a name people pick. But as a show, we're picking Wemby to lead our franchise. Now let's look at sports bets of the week.
All right.
My future bet, Pat keeps talking about him. I'm betting Cam Young to win the Masters. That is going to be my future bet. Masters is coming up next week. It's the perfect time. I can't wait to talk about it on next week's show. Any sports bets you got this week, Pat?
Well, I think, and it's not like out of the realm. It's 1 of 4 chance, but I like Illinois to win this whole thing. I don't think anybody's talking about them. They've sort of been under the radar and been a really good team, and a lot of their players are kind of older guys, European-type guys. If they can get by UConn, like I said, I think they'll be a letdown by the Arizona-Michigan winner a little bit to where it's like, okay, we just played the best team. So don't be surprised if Illinois wins this whole thing. I don't have anything to base that on other than the position they're in right now, that they've got a UConn team that probably feels like we shouldn't even be here, and then they're going to play a team that feels like they just played the best team. So maybe they can sneak in there and win this thing.
Ernest isn't ready, so I'm going to go ahead and go next. So I do have UConn winning, and or at least with the points, and Arizona getting points. 50 could get you 178, but I'm a fan this late to take the points, and I know 1.5 and 2.5 isn't a bunch, but UConn coming back from that, I don't see them having a large letdown to be after the momentum they have with that last shot.
No, they're tough, man. I think UConn plus 600 is a nice. You know me and my value.
You do. You like that.
The value, and they have the most value of all the 14.
You should be rich by now with all the value.
Yeah, but I don't take enough of those values to make it work, and they always lose when I do it. When I don't do it, they do fine, whatever. So bet $25 on UConn to win the whole thing, and they win 175. Now I'm moving for Michigan to win the whole thing, obviously. So that's another story.
Okay, those are awesome sports bets. Now we got to talk about something I'm really looking forward to, and it's coming up April 10th in the Paddock. It's another dinner and show. It's Studio 54, presented by the
Starring
Reaction
Mike
Band.
Tomlin.
Yes, there he is.
There he is right there. He's fantastic. I can't wait for this show because everybody's looking forward to it.
Is there dancing there, Mike? Does
there's
everybody hop
be
up and
dancing.
dance?
We're
Will
going
you
to have
dance?
a small dance floor set up. If you'll come, I'll dance.
Oh, we might
Why is
have
it always
to
if
that.
you do this? Come on.
Well,
Michael.
because you're not going to watch a video of me dancing. You got to be there and watch me firsthand.
I have Jake go there and film you.
Yeah, it's like a Elaine from Seinfeld dance. It's like a dry heave.
Right.
Yeah, that's exactly what it's like. But Studio 54 is going to be an awesome show because Reaction Band, who we've had before, are absolutely fantastic. Dust off the disco boots. Dust off the 70s.
This is a
clothes
good gift for
and
your
come here.
parent. You buy it for your parents, but hey, I got a surprise, and then you can really see.
Yeah, we can't wait for Studio 54, and that's dinner and a show. That's a 3-course meal. You're not going to beat it. We can't wait for that. We also got April High Hands going on right now with a bigger giveaway. That big giveaway is going to be on Derby Day, May 2nd, where we're not going to give away 15, 25,000.
I made that decision.
Noah made that
My man.
decision. I don't know if Pat knew that or not.
I'm
but
glad he made it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Pat.
$25,000 giveaway on Derby Day, which is May 2nd. Talking about the Kentucky Derby, we can't wait for that too. The first Saturday in May, the Run for the Roses. series.
Yeah.
You don't want to miss that. We also have Friday at 5, an awesome band performing this year, so we're looking forward to Derby Day. And, of course, the Rooney's 5K is this Saturday. We're going to see you bright and early Saturday morning. Anything you're looking forward to this week, Pat?
I saw a little tweet last night. Now, my April 1st thing immediately went up. The Jacksonville Jaguars posted something saying they're playing all their home games in Orlando next year.
Yeah.
Now, is their stadium getting rebuilt or something?
That's my knowledge.
So that I'm like, this can't be right. But why would they post it on March 31st? But anyway, if it is true, that's a weird signal to me that something's going on with them. Like, they play a lot of their games in London now and everything else. Are Jacksonville actually contemplating moving to Orlando? I don't know. If they're not doing something to that stadium, why would you play all your games in Orlando if that's not an April 1st thing? So I just thought it was odd. But if it's true, are they putting some feelers out to see if Orlando might be receptive to them?
I'd like to see that. Personally, that'd be pretty cool.
Camper World Stadium's under renovation also, I believe, so I don't know where they're going to play that if they do.
Yeah, I don't know. It was by the team. It was their tweet, and they put it out there. I'm like, this has to be April 1st, but it wasn't on April 1st, so I don't know.
I did see something about that. Ernest, what are you looking forward to?
That's interesting. Orlando Jaguars.
Orlando.
Something we can build on. I don't know.
No more Duval.
Yes.
What county is that in?
That will piss me off.
What county would that be?
Orange.
Orange County. Orange County. Yeah.
Orange.
Orange. No, Duval. Stay in J-Ball, please, guys.
Yeah.
It's the dead period. Well, yeah, obviously the Final Four this weekend, but then the NBA is still it's kind of mid right now until the playoffs at this point. Baseball just started. Nothing really been going on here. Then you have the Masters next week, and so it's
by the way, now before you kick in there, I found out why the Florida Panthers are tanking, because they have I only thought the NBA did this. They have a protected top 10 pick in the draft. So if they finish outside of that, then they don't get that pick. They are absolutely. If you look at the lineups they're putting in there every day, they're not playing anybody.
Yes.
They're playing this goalie that's terrible. I'm just like, this is like Bush League stuff. Like this isn't even like a Division III type. And now I figured it out. Somebody told me, it's like, yeah, they got a top 10
Does it bother you?
No, I mean, I guess they got to do it, but it just feels weird going. Like, I went to the game the other week, and they got beat in the last scored in the last 5 seconds to lose a game they had no business even tying. And I'm like, nope, there you go. There, it's like, we're not going into overtime, guys. Make sure you let this one go through. So all you Panther fans, take heart. They're actually doing this on purpose. So I think they only got 5 games left anyway. But man, they better use that pick wisely and play a lot better next year, or a lot of these fans are going to be jumping off the bandwagon.
They are
quickly.
mathematically eliminated. They're eliminated from contention, right? Officially?
Yeah.
They're not technically. I think they're close, but they're going to get eliminated soon. But yeah, I was just like, I didn't know they did the protected pick thing in the NHL.
Yeah, it makes it tough because Pat's generous enough. I get in my inbox every once in a while the Panthers tickets pop up on there and no takers because we already know we're tanking and it's kind of miserable. But I am looking forward, and this might sound like I'm trying to brown nose the boss here, but the 5K, it's always a great event, and coming out here in that morning, it's like a family event. It's like you get special bonding time with your kids where you could actually get them to engage with you, and this is one where I drag her out here for the charity and get her to meet everybody at PBKC. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, no, we can't wait for the Rooney's 5K. We're going to see you this Saturday morning. RunSignUp.com/Rooney's 5K. Sign up now, and we're going to see you Saturday, and we'll see you next week right here on PBKC Picks.
PBKC is your entertainment destination for poker, table games, OTB, Paddock live events, and exceptional eats. The Paddock Restaurant is perfect for meetings, corporate functions, parties, fundraising, and more. Call 561-683-2222 extension 199 and book your next event today.